negotiations, Liverpool have agreed a British record £125 million deal for the Newcastle striker, which could bring an epic saga to an end.
We've got both sides of the story. Pete Graves is at Newcastle for us, but we start at Liverpool's training ground and join Vinny O'Connor. Vinny, bring us up to speed, please.
Yes, well, we know that Liverpool's spending is going to continue, and again, they are spending big. They are going to pay Newcastle that flat fee of £125 million. It will be a British transfer record, obviously eclipsing the £110 million that Chelsea paid to Brighton. Sorry, £115 million it was, wasn't it, that Chelsea paid to Brighton for Moises Caicedo back in 2023. Alexander Isak himself has agreed a 6-year deal with Liverpool. He's now due to undergo a medical. That medical is due to get underway this morning as well. There was a lot of talk around Anfield actually yesterday. He was in a hotel around about 20 minutes drive away from where Liverpool were taking on Arsenal and ultimately taking 3 points in that battle of last season's top two, of course, as well. And you mentioned the fact that this has been a transfer saga throughout the summer. Of course, Liverpool having that £110 million bid for Alexander Isak rejected by Newcastle earlier in the window. Newcastle were looking for around about the £150 million mark, but obviously they have reached a compromise on the fee. Also helped by the fact that Newcastle look to be getting a striker through the door as well in terms of an ideal replacement for Alexander Isak, and that ultimately has helped this deal along as well. And we're just looking at when Alexander Isak can start really making an impact for Liverpool. Of course, he is 25 years of age. He will turn 26 next month, of course. Newcastle paid £63 million for him back in 2022 to Real Sociedad. 54 Premier League goals in 86 Premier League appearances. Only 8 of those appearances as substitute as well. But looking at what Liverpool have got coming up after this international break, well, first of all, it is Burnley away. Then it's Atletico Madrid at home in the Champions League. His first potential home game for Liverpool could come in no bigger occasion, really, than a Merseyside derby at Anfield as well. And then after that, it's Palace away, Galatasaray away, before Chelsea away at the start of October. So all gearing up very nicely for the start of Alexander Isak's Liverpool career. He has obviously still got to put pen to paper as yet, complete that medical. But of course, the set fee is £125 million, and he is set to become a Liverpool player on deadline day.
Big fee, big news. Thank you very much, Vinny.
Let's cross live to Newcastle and speak to Pete Graves. Pete, good morning. Newcastle get a British record fee, but how will Isak be remembered there?
Hi, Julia. I think, unfortunately, Isak will be remembered largely by the way he's acted this summer and not by his performances to the last couple of seasons on the pitch. A lot of disappointment up here, I think, from supporters, but also within the club, you would imagine, at the way that this has played out, with a player refusing to go on pre-season tours and refusing to play in matches. And ultimately, despite the fact that Liverpool came in with that £110 million bid a couple of months ago now, where they feel like they've stood firm and ended up getting a fee, as we said, set fee of £125 million. But as far as Newcastle United are concerned, the total package worth just north of £130 million to Newcastle United. So they're relatively happy with the fee they've ended up getting, when there was a time, maybe a few days ago, where they thought that they might not see Liverpool return to the table. But they feel that they're happy with the fee that they've got for a player who clearly didn't want to be here. He's not played in any of the opening 3 games, of course. So as far as the squad are concerned, they're not losing a player who's been playing for them. They're losing someone who's not being involved at all. And Newcastle United, by the way, remain active this morning. They now have had their sort of focus sharpened a little bit to go out and try and bring in another addition into the attacking lineup. But let's not forget, Alexander Isak aside, the club have had a fantastic window in so many ways. They've actually strengthened in every position on the football field. They brought in a new goalkeeper in Aaron Ramsdale. They brought in a new defender in Malik Chow, a new midfielder in Jacob Ramsey, and 2 new attackers in Anthony Elanga on the wing, of course, and a club record deal for highly rated German international forward, 23 years old, Nick Woltemade, who was in the stands at Elland Road at the weekend and will be fit to make his debut following the international break. They're hugely excited about the acquisition of Woltemade and feel he can achieve so much in the Premier League. 6'6" and a towering centre forward, and someone who can come in, and Eddie Howe was saying on Saturday after the game, he's got all the attributes required to be a top Premier League player. So they've had a good window already, and as things stand this morning, they remain active. We know that they've been trying to bring in another centre forward. They've had talks with Wolves over Larson, and you think Johan Wissa would probably be the one that they'll push hard for today. They've already had a bid of £40 million rejected. We saw Johan Wissa put out a statement yesterday saying he's desperate to leave Brentford. Although Brentford are keen to keep hold of him, you just wonder whether Newcastle will go in and tempt them once again with another bid now that they know Isak is on his way to Liverpool. So it's all geared up to be a very, very busy day here on Tyneside. And as always, we'll keep you right up to date here on Sky Sports News.
Great stuff. Thanks very much, Pete. A former Premier League striker, Charlie Austin, is with us until 10 a.m. So too is our reporter, Mark McAdam. Mark, busy night for you, busy deadline day already. You broke the Isak story for us. Just give us a timeline. How did it unfold?
Well, this is a transfer that's been in the making for a number of months, really. We reported 45 days ago that Alexander Isak had said to the hierarchy at Newcastle he wants to explore the avenues of a potential departure from St James's Park over the course of this summer. He made it quite clear that he didn't see his future at Newcastle United, and therefore him and his representatives were going to explore what was out there, what was possible. The price tag was 150 million. That was a starting point as far as Newcastle were concerned, and that basically said to the footballing world, only maybe 1 or 2 clubs can actually afford this deal. Real Madrid and Liverpool. No one else really, maybe Saudi Arabian sides could afford to get to that type of cash. So straight away, it ruled out most of the footballing world. But of course, there were another set of provisos put on any potential transfer, and that was, we need a replacement. That's going to be difficult to find. And they have to get to the fee that we're comfortable with. And then obviously over the course of the days and weeks and months, as it's now been, it was, we had one story about this, and Alexander Isak wasn't going to Asia. He wasn't training with the first team. He had his own separate programme. There was a family fun day at Newcastle that he wasn't involved in. Eddie Howe was doing everything he possibly could to say this is a united group, this is a strong dressing room. Come and be a part of it. This is important, this football club. Come and be a part of what we're doing and what we're going to achieve this season. But Alexander Isak remained firm in his decision that he didn't want to play for Newcastle United. And as it went on week by week, it became increasingly more likely that the chance of him being sold was going to happen. There was this big meeting on Monday at Alexander Isak's house. What was said in that meeting, we don't know. It turns out he was probably told on Monday that he was going to be sold, providing Liverpool could get to the price that they were comfortable with. Obviously, as Pete Grave mentioned there, the fact that they got in young German international 23-year-old striker Nick Woltemade was significant to allow Alexander Isak to go. And then late last night, after a few days of no contact between PIF, the owners of Newcastle, and FSG, the owners of Liverpool, it became apparent that a deal had to be done because time was running out. With less than 24 hours to go, we got confirmation that the deal had been agreed between the two parties and that Alexander Isak was free to travel to Liverpool this morning to undergo the formalities of the medical. So it's been a saga. It's been one of those transfers that we'll probably sit here and talk about in 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 10 years' time, because right now it's a Premier League record. It's a huge deal. It's 2 of the biggest clubs in the country fighting over the best striker in the world, and Liverpool have got their man. And, I sat here and said 3 weeks ago, I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I think he's going to stay. Eddie Howe made it quite clear he wanted Alexander Isak at the football club. They tried to get replacements. It looked unlikely he was going to stay. But then things change, and that's the great thing about deadline day and any possible transfer. You can say one thing and be 100% certain, and then it changes within minutes. And that's why we love it so much, because it's so unpredictable.
Yeah. We're not done, by the way. We're going to come back to you in just a moment, some more Isak chat. But we've got some breaking news, because Brighton's Matt O'Reilly is understood to be travelling to France this morning for a medical with Marseille. The midfielder is set to join them on a straight loan with no option. He was left on the bench yesterday as Brighton beat Manchester City. Marseille, of course, are managed by the former Brighton head coach, Roberto De Zerbi. But going back to Isak, Mark, I'm just trying to find out what else is going on.
There's always
Breaking
something
news.
happening. You know, I'm not being rude, but just to...
You're not texting your mate,
No, he's definitely staying across the breaking news. I have a question for Charlie, actually.
OK, you do that and we'll follow up.
Just
with Mark.
about the Alexander Isak. It's overshadowed a lot of, the summer for Newcastle, especially. He's finally got his move now. Do you think this sets a precedent for how others, and we've seen Johan Wissa as well, the way he's behaved. Does this set a precedent for players?
Yeah, of course it does. Because, and I mean, it does not only for Premier League players, I think for football in this country, because if we're talking top-end players going for 125 million, British record fees, what's it stopping players going for a lot less money than that? I think that was what I was saying a couple of weeks ago. I think that's what was one of the reasons I didn't think the deal would go through, because of this reason and the way he's acted. But like Mark said, we're going to talk about a transfer for so long, could be a couple of years, 5 years, 10 years. No one's really going to, we might just say, look how the player acted. But that's almost going to be part now. No one's going to really remember that. It's a £125 million move. He's left Newcastle and now he's going to go and play for Liverpool. That's the biggest talking point now. No one's really going to remember. If we say a couple of weeks, no one's going to remember how he acted. He's going to go and play for Liverpool and score
Not
goals.
Once he starts scoring goals,
That's it. And that was the same. If he didn't get his move, and they say, how is he going to act when he gets back? If he didn't get the move back into Newcastle, how's Newcastle fans going to act? Well, if he starts scoring goals, no one's going to worry about it.
That's true,
OK, we'll pause that once again because we have...
Liverpool have finally done it. Alexander Isak is on his way to Anfield after a British record-breaking deal was agreed with Newcastle. Reports confirm the fee is around £125 million, rising to £130 million, with the Swedish striker set to sign a 6-year contract after completing his medical. But it's not just about firepower up front. Liverpool also want to shore up their defence. The Reds have made Mark Guéhi one of their top targets. An official £35 million bid plus a 10% sell-on clause has already gone in, but Crystal Palace are pushing back. Palace value their captain closer to £40 million, including around £5 million in add-ons. Manager Oliver Glasner has been clear, Guéhi is vital to their project, and they don't want to lose him unless a replacement is lined up. Palace see him as a leader on and off the pitch, and fans are desperate to keep him at Selhurst Park. Still, Liverpool are confident. Negotiations are active, and sources say both clubs are edging closer to an agreement. The Reds believe Guéhi is the perfect fit alongside Virgil van Dijk, bringing pace, composure, and Premier League experience to a defence that needs depth for the long season ahead. Isak, deal agreed, medical pending. Guéhi, talks ongoing, Palace holding firm, but Liverpool pushing hard. This could end up being a record-breaking striker and a defensive leader in one transfer window for Liverpool.